Hey guys, welcome back. Today we have an extremely fun video for you guys. Let's talk about practice ammunition. Right now, this PTR 91 is a very expensive rifle to shoot because 308 ammunition is almost unobtainium. You can find it, but you're going to pay through the nose to get your hands on some of it. So the cost of practice has gone way up for most Americans that didn't have an existing stockpile of ammunition sitting on hand. What if I told you I could show you a 308 training round that gives you accuracy, range, and recoil impulse, and allows you to train for about 20 cents a round at 2021 prices? That's what today's video is about. But before we get started with today's video, guys, if you enjoy the content we produce here at the Military Arms channel, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It helps us out tremendously, and we like reading those comments down below because that's where we get ideas for videos like this one. With all that being said, let's get started with today's video.
One of the things I get asked all the time is, Mac, how can I get involved in the firearms industry? Well, one of the best ways to do that is to consider going to Modern Gun School. It's an accredited school, and they offer all the modern classes that will get you up to speed and be able to empower you to go out and find a job in the gun industry. You can learn gunsmithing and things like that, and you learn from home. So please check them out. I have a URL down in the video description below.
This little guy right now, a 308 ball round, is going to run you about 75 cents a round if you check out places like ammoseek.com, and that's going to be for steel-cased Wolf ammunition. This ammo I recently purchased for 20 cents a round. This is a 308 training round manufactured in Germany for the G3 rifle. Now, before you laugh, this thing will surprise you in terms of its performance, and that's what we're going to show you in today's video. But before we can shoot this training ammunition, we have to do a bolt swap. This is an HK manufactured training bolt. Through the ejection port, you'll see this UB marked on the side, letting the German soldier know that it has the training bolt installed. You'll notice that the bolt itself does not have any rollers and is fixed, so it's straight blowback. So to put it in, you just do a quick field strip. Let's go ahead and clear the weapon. Just do a quick field strip, swap the bolts. Take the regular bolt out, stick the training bolt in. And now you can see through the ejection port, see the UB and how it looks quite a bit different. You can actually see part of the bolt head back there. The gun is now set up to fire the DAG, or what I call DAG, plastic training ammunition. You're going to want to watch this. This is actually pretty impressive in terms of its performance. So let's do some shooting with it and shoot it at some different stuff. And I think you're going to agree, this is actually worth 20 cents a round, and in terms of fun, probably worth a lot more. Now, I will put chapter marks in this video so you can go through the video and pick out the sections you want to see, but I suggest watching the whole video because, again, this stuff is pretty impressive. This contraption is based on something that was called the Box of Truth, and I don't remember where I saw it. I believe it was a blog back in the day, and that's what gave us the idea for this testing rig. In it, we have 4 pieces of drywall. In previous tests and some of the comments, we do read your comments, you guys had said, well, the drywall's too close together, you got to allow it some space in between to decelerate after it passes through. We only have a limited amount of space to work with here because of the size of the box, so we've gone every other slot and inserted a sheet of drywall. So we're going to go back about 15 yards and we're going to shoot into the drywall with the DAG ammunition, and we're going to see if it'll penetrate all 4 layers. Jason and I have a bet going here, and I'll let you guys know who won the bet after we do the test. I'll tell you right now, neither one of us won the bet. Jason said it wouldn't make it all the way through one, and I said it would make it through all four. What actually happened was somewhere in between. Came through the first board, blew out, left a pretty large hole as it exited, hit the second piece, and then exited, and then with the chalk in front of the bullet, it smacked this third piece, left a bunch of chalk on there, and right here is our bullet. That's pretty cool. So inside of a structure, you'd be pretty safe shooting this stuff. It's not going to exit the structure being a house or something similar. I really expected it to make it through all four sheets. All right, let's change it up. Let's take out this front piece drywall, put in some particle board, and see if it can go through particle board. Place your bets now. Will it make it through? Let's find out. So what was your bet? Chances are you were wrong. At least I was. I didn't think it would make it all the way through the particle board and hit the drywall behind it, but it did. It punched right through the particle board, punched through the first piece of drywall, put a nice nasty dent here, but when we looked inside, the bullet was nowhere to be found. So we took a look at the slow motion footage, and sure enough, you could see the bullet bounce out of the test rig and onto the ground. And there's our bullet. This is just so insanely cool. I love this ammunition. This is the training bolt, and you definitely do not want to fire a live 308 round with this bolt installed. Thankfully, the Germans made it so you could not. You'll notice that I cannot get the head of the case to seat in the face of the bolt. So if I were to try to chamber a live round, it would not go fully into battery and therefore would not lock up. Therefore, the firing pin could not make contact with the primer on a live round. The head size on the training ammunition is slightly smaller. So that's the safety mechanism. Now the case is one piece of injection molded plastic with a metal head attached to the rear end of it, and then just a standard large rifle primer. So that's the safety mechanism, so you don't blow yourself up by running a live round in the gun when it's set up for the training ammunition. So what good is training ammunition if you can't hit what you're aiming at, or if it's not reasonably accurate? So we put a target up at 50 yards and fired a 5-shot group using the iron sights on the PTR, and here's our 5-shot group. That is actually better than I expected it to be. That's reasonable and certainly good enough for training purposes. This ammunition continues to boggle my mind. It's totally out of the ordinary, but totally fun to shoot. Let's fire 5 rounds of the ammunition through my Definitive Arms DESA rifle, chambered obviously in 308. Now the head on the training ammunition is dimensionally slightly different than a standard 7.62x51 NATO or 308 case. So we've been practicing this morning when we first came out here just to see what it was going to do out of a bolt gun. We had some light primer strikes where the case wasn't held up against the face of the bolt tightly enough for the primer to be struck by the striker. So let's see if we can get 5 rounds to fire, and again at 50 yards, and see what type of a group we can get out of this stuff using a precision rifle. All right, 1 light primer strike. Two light primer strikes. All right, we'll go with the 3-shot group because you got 3 rounds to fire. Pretty interesting results. Here's our 5-shot group with the PTR. And then of the 3 rounds I was able to get to go off out of the DESA, here's our 3-shot group. I was aiming right there. So once again, the point of aim, point of impact is spot on, and the group size is fairly comparable to what we were seeing with the iron sights at 50 yards. This is Clear Ballistics gelatin. It's silicon-based. It's not organic like other test blocks that you'll see being used out there, which is has to be refrigerated and kept at a specific temperature to be accurate. This is silicon-based, therefore it's stable at temperatures like today at 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're going to shoot this block. We're reusing a block that we used on our 300 blackout test. I didn't want to waste a brand new block on this ammunition, so we're going to repurpose this old block. So place your bets now. How far into the gel do you think the bullet's going to make it? Jason thinks it's going to make it about 1/3 of the way in. I'm going to do a Price is Right and say it's going to make it just over 1/3 of the way in, but I think there's a good chance it could just bounce off because this stuff is pretty pliable and that bullet is moving pretty fast. Let's see what happens. Guys, this is so epically cool. All right, so Jason was wrong. He lost the bet. And if I go with my second prediction instead of the first, doing my Price is Right guess there, just $1 more than his guess, where I said there's a good possibility it would hit and bounce off because it was so pliable, and when you hit something pliable with speed, it has a tendency to bounce off. And that's exactly what it did. The bullet came in, penetrated about 1 inch, left a perfect pinky-sized hole in the gel, and then bounced out and went straight back towards me at the shooting bench. We looked at the slow motion video. We could see the bullet literally bouncing out of the gel block, so we found it over here. I put a piece of tape to mark it. And there it is. Oh man, this is entirely too much fun. We have some cinder block remnants left over from a previous test we conducted out here on the Mac range, and so we have half of a cinder block sitting about 15 yards away, and I've loaded 20 rounds of the DAG ammunition into the magazine, which is surprisingly light for a fully loaded magazine, and we're going to see if we can punch a hole through a cinder block with plastic bullets. There's already a hole through the block on the front side. And I can see all the way through, so we've punched all the way through. All right, let's go ahead and clear the weapon out here. One, two, 5, 6 rounds left. Let's go take a look at this. There we go. Punched a hole clean through a cinder block with plastic bullets. And there is tons of plastic bullets just laying around here on the ground. All over the place. I've read online that this ammunition is accurate out to 100 meters, perhaps even further. Well, it just so happens I have a challenge target that's a man-sized target at 100 meters, freshly painted, and let's see if I can hit the target, and let's see if we can hear it hit the steel. All right, I only had 12 rounds loaded. Let's go see our results. So, looking at the target, you'll see very, very faint marks. Not even fully scratching the paint. So we fired 12 rounds, and I found 8 of them laying in front of the target. These are the fired bullets. Now we did see through the spotting scope some of them hook like a curveball, wildly off target and completely miss. So the projectiles aren't necessarily 100% stable, but let's assume 8 out of 12 hit at 100 meters. That's not too bad for practice ammunition, especially when you're talking about shooting a plastic bullet. Let's find out what makes this ammunition tick. So I've taken this one partially apart. It would appear that the entire body and the bullet itself is molded together as one piece. On the very tip of the bullet, you can see the mold mark. But it's not pressed into the case, it's literally molded as part of the case. So I'm going to rip it off. There's our 10 grain projectile. It is solid, it's not hollow. It's a flat base bullet. There's the gunpowder. And then you can see, even on the fired cases, let me grab one with some flutes on it. So you can see even on the fired cases, you have that star-like shape inside of the neck. And you can see the flutes on the case from the PTR. Pretty interesting. Only the Germans could think something like this up and actually make it work as well as it works. The plastic that the bullets are made of seems to be pretty hard. You're probably wondering if you can use a suppressor with the ammunition. I don't see why you couldn't use it, but if you were going to use a suppressor with the training ammo, I would recommend using a user serviceable can, meaning one that you could take apart and clean. I'm not going to use it with the suppressor. I don't know if the plastic bullet might destabilize and strike a baffle in there. I'm not that curious to find out, but you could probably do it if you were so inclined. Again, use a user serviceable can if you're going to do that. I took a look down the bore after firing several hundred rounds of ammunition through the PTR, and the bore's nice and shiny. I don't see any signs of accumulation of polymer or plastics in the lands and grooves of the barrel, so it doesn't appear that it's gunking up the gun whatsoever, which means you can go from training ammunition back to regular ammunition without much concern for a barrel obstruction. I would, however, run a patch or a bore brush through the barrel after you shoot the training ammo just to play it safe. The ammunition comes in a box of 50. This one's already been tapped into, but it comes stacked in here, 50 rounds per box. And it loads just like regular ammo. All right, so you can see we have the UB bolt in there. I'm gonna go ahead and lock the bolt open. The manual of arms is exactly the same with the training bolt in it. Nothing really changes. And we found that this ammunition has been surprisingly reliable. I fired about 200 rounds of it this afternoon and we've had no failures yet, but I'll probably get one. The day's not over. Charge it like you normally would, and then just do some shooting. It has a muted recoil impulse, okay, because we're only pushing a 10 grain bullet. They say it goes around 3,500 feet per second. We tried to get velocity data with our lab radar, but the lab radar would not track the plastic bullet. In this case, it would have been handy to have a regular chronograph on hand, which I don't have, which I'll have to fix in the future. So I'm going on what I've read online, which again is about 3,500 feet per second for the 10 grain projectile. But the gun gives you a full recoil impulse. I mean, it is a good training ammo because the gun moves and cycles like it normally would. It just doesn't quite have that edgy punch to it that a standard 308 round would with a 147 grain ball round. It's pretty cool how it works. And again, I've had great reliability with it. It runs perfectly out of this gun. Now, people are going to ask, will it run out of my FOW? Will it run out of this? Will it run out of that? The answer is, as a single shot, possibly. Keep in mind that the head on this case is slightly smaller than a standard 308 round. We ran into problems with this using a bolt action because the extractor claw wasn't able to hold the case up against the face of the bolt, so we're getting light primer strikes with the bolt gun occasionally. So you may or may not get light primer strikes when you're running it with a standard bolt that's cut for a 308 size head. Again, this is slightly smaller. if you want to shoot this ammunition in your gun, swing by hkparts.net and you can pick up a bolt that converts your rifle for $159. So 160 bucks for the bolt. Now, I made a post on Instagram last night and my source for the ammunition at 20 cents a round is now sold out, but I haven't looked elsewhere online to see if I could find more of it. Hopefully by the time you watch this video, you're still able to pick up some of the ammunition somewhere and pick up a bolt for your HK type rifle. We did learn today in testing the ammunition that you want to treat this with the same respect as you would a live round of ammunition. This is not a toy. At close range, we were able to punch through a cinder block within a few rounds. We shot this round into Ballistic's gelatin at 15 yards. It dumped considerable amounts of energy if you take a look at the footage, and then this bullet bounced out and landed on the ground in front of the target. At 100 meters, the plastic bullets just barely scratched the paint of the man-sized target, and we found these rounds laying on the ground within a foot or so of the target after they had impacted. So it seems that the bullets lose their velocity fairly quickly as you go to range. Now, it's advertised this stuff is accurate out to 100 yards or 100 meters. We did shoot it to 100 meters, but we did see some of the bullets through the spotting scope do some wild things like throwing curveballs. So it's not 100% stable, but for training ammunition, it's actually pretty darn good. I was surprised at how much stuff it could actually penetrate. Now, if you want to put this ammunition into a different gun, I'm not aware of any other conversion bolts for any other types of firearms. We already talked about the problems that we had with the bolt action running this ammunition because the head's slightly smaller. But, you know, if you have an HK91 or a PTR or something like that, it's actually pretty darn cool stuff. It gives you the recoil impulse. It gives you the full feeling of firing the ammunition. You do want to wear hearing protection. It's as loud as a regular gunshot. It's definitely well above what would be considered hearing safe. But yeah, it's a lot of fun to shoot. Hopefully I can find some more of this stuff because at 20 cents a round in this market, it's really, really tough to beat. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you have any questions, ask those questions down below. We do read your comments. We look to those comments for ideas for future videos and stuff like that. If you enjoy the content that we produce here at the Military Arms Channel, please consider becoming part of our Patreon family so we can continue to bring you videos like this. There's a link in the video description below. Once you become a Patreon, you have direct access to me. I answer all private communications. You get early access to videos like this one, and we've built a really neat community over there of folks that you can interact with. Again, link down below. Right here on YouTube, there's a little join button right underneath the video player you're watching right now. Click that join button and consider supporting us here on YouTube. And last but not least, guys, please swing by and check out coppercustom.com. Thank you for 13 years of support. We'll talk to you guys soon.